Ink ribbon.
Gaming on the go has been around for a long time, but not all portable gaming was created equal. Most of these entries are going to be Nintendo systems, but I will include other systems I feel are worthy. After researching it, I discovered there aren't really many companies willing to rival Nintendo in that department, and pretty much every company that has tried has failed. I will not be including iPhone or Android because that's a list for another day. So with that, here are my picks for the top 10 handheld gaming consoles.
Number 10.
SEGA Ultimate Portable Gaming Player. Okay, before you attack me for including this, I was going to put the Game Gear here, but I had one of those things and it was a piece of crap. This mini console is awesome, including 80 games from the Sega Genesis library, and it's portable. With games like Mortal Kombat 1 through 3, Sonic, Phantasy Star, Altered Beast, Golden Axe, and a whole bunch more, it's a great bargain at $60. While I will say the speakers suck and if you drop this thing it's guaranteed to break, it's still a pretty fun little handheld for those days you're feeling nostalgic.
Number 9.
NVidia Shield. Combining the old with the new, the NVidia Shield is a cool little device that enables you to not only play your PC games on the go via internet, but also uses an Android-based platform capable of all sorts of emulation. And that's where this thing can be really cool. You can take it with you and play PS1, PS2, PSP, N64, Game Boy, Dreamcast, and a bunch of other emulators. Assuming you're tech savvy enough to set it all up, that is.
Number 8.
DS. One of the biggest reveals in handheld gaming was the original DS, or dual screen. Taking from the clamshell design of the Game Boy Advance SP, the DS uses 2 screens as well as a touch interface, which creates a plethora of gameplay modes and features unique to the system, especially for the time. Remember, this came out before smartphones were a thing. Boasting a huge library of games over the span of a decade, this is still a good system to pick up, especially since the games are compatible with the current 3DS system.
Number 7.
PlayStation Vita. After the success of the PSP, Sony went back to the drawing board with the Vita, redesigning it from the ground up and improving it in every conceivable way, including a second analog stick, backwards compatibility with both PSP and PS1 games, a new interface design, and the ability to play console-quality graphics on the go. The reason the Vita isn't higher on this list stems from the drop support from Sony, as well as a severe lack of games, which ultimately has been slowly killing this great system. But that's for another video.
Number 6.
Nintendo Switch. Always innovating, Nintendo made this hybrid console qualify to be on this list, since it is simultaneously a home console and a handheld. With a rapidly growing library of games, the Switch is proving to be a great system so far.
Number 5.
3DS. After the DS and the DSi, Nintendo introduced the 3DS. With the gimmick of being able to see games in 3D without glasses, the 3DS also adds features such as the eShop, street passing, streaming apps, and graphics that can rival the Vita. The 3DS caught fire upon release and quickly became a best-selling system, having sold almost 70 million units.
Number 4.
Game Boy. Every legacy has a founder, and for mobile games, that's the original Game Boy. While it's not the first handheld, it's the one that got it right. Ergonomic, easy to use, great battery life, and a huge library of quality games made this system a surefire hit. This is also the system that introduced us all to Tetris. Can't forget about that.
Number 3.
Game Boy Color. The Game Boy Color was a response to pressure from game developers for a more sophisticated handheld platform, as they felt that the Game Boy, even in its latest incarnation, the Game Boy Pocket, was insufficient. The result was a backwards compatible, a first for a handheld system, color Game Boy. Being able to play games in color doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but think of black and white TV and color TV. It's kinda like that. It was a big change.
Number 2.
PSP. Nobody has been able to beat Nintendo at their game, no pun intended, but Sony definitely came the closest with the PSP. This system was unique and intuitive, as well as a breath of fresh air. While it wasn't perfect, it's definitely a system to remember. Having sold over 80 million units in its 10-year lifespan, the PSP was able to bring a whole new wave of PS2 quality games right to your pocket and flip the handheld market on its side. It's also worth noting a PSP is a great system to have nowadays, being extremely easy to mod into a retro console capable of playing games from dozens of systems via emulation.
Number 1.
Game Boy Advance. The golden age of handheld gaming was during the lifespan of the Game Boy Advance. This little handheld took almost 5 years to develop and debuted in 2001 to immediate success. And for good reason. The Game Boy Advance has over 1,200 games, as well as being backwards compatible with the Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. One cool thing about the games for the GBA is during this time in gaming, it was a trend for console games to have a port for the handheld, which usually resulted in something very different and unique than the full games. Along with this were several interesting accessories that included a movie player, a TV tuner, a card reader, and even a blood glucose monitor. Maybe I should do a top 10 list about those. And that's it for this list. Which one of these handhelds did you love? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more weekly gaming videos. I'm Kai Morgan, and as always, thanks for watching Ink Ribbon.